think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
All right, troops, welcome to the Actually. My name is Owen, and we're not a PG-13 show here, as you can now see. So if you're offended by swearing, best toddle off to bed, because we're in R-rated territory here, as we're going to be ranking the villains of the Die Hard franchise tonight. But first of all, let's bring in the squad. So first off is Stephen. Welcome back, sir. It's been a few weeks.
Thank you. Yes, I just published my 4th book, and I wrote on the back that I appear on the Action Elite weekly live streams. I'm like, I should probably appear again in order to claim that on the back of the book.
I've had that in the past where people are like, I write for the Action Elite. I'm like, no, you don't. Who the fuck are you? I've actually seen that on Facebook. I'm like, what? That's crazy. So we'll now bring in Charlie. What up?
It's me. I was going to say I was proofreading that book, Stephen, and I was going to call shenanigans. But you clarified it. We're all good, man. We're all
lies.
Good. The lies.
And finally, we have J-Man.
Hello.
How are we all? So we all ready to chat Die Hard tonight? So
we are.
I think it's a great way to cover the franchise. I'm looking forward to this.
I wanted to do something different rather than just talking about the movies and ranking whatever. And I thought, let's talk about the bad guys, because the villains of the franchise are some of the best things about it. And my number one will be maybe a controversial choice, but we'll see how it goes. So controversy is the way. But before I get into that, I just want to shoot the shit for a bit. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen this new movie that's out. J-Man, you're gonna love it. Christmas, Bloody Christmas.
Oh, I haven't seen. So I watched Fat Man, I watched Violent Night, and I watched a Christmas Horror
Story.
I watched that too. So what's this one called?
Christmas, Bloody Christmas, with a killer robotic Santa. It's
like my God,
Terminator in a Santa suit, right? It is awesome. Like, everyone swears constantly. Everyone is like white trash, and they swear. And I was like, oh, it's me. And like they just say fuck constantly throughout. And at first I was sort of like, okay, well, let's see where this goes. It took a little while to get going, but it's only 88 minutes long, which is amazing.
Nice.
And then the final like half hour, it just becomes the Terminator. And this is all with the green lasers coming out of its eyes and everything.
I found it. I will have that.
So it's awesome. So it's on Shudder just now, and it's also in some theaters, I think, too. So
awesome.
Yeah, so it's really good. So we have a comment. There's Could Not Be Reached. How are you?
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Good day to you, sir.
Shout out to Could Not Be Reached. He got me onto Space Ice, that guy who does all the cigars.
Oh, yeah. It's hilarious.
I've been crying.
So am I.
Like, literally, the Van Damme versus the Seagal, Marked for Death. I laughed through about 70% of it, but then I'm doing Quest. The Quest versus what's the one that Seagal did that he wrote and whatever. Literally, I don't even know the title because I've been crying immediately. Like the video started, I immediately started crying. It's like Steven Seagal, stuntman. It's like turning to the side. It's like that's a stunt because it's not even him.
Yep.
I love just the voice, or the guy's voice is hilarious because he's sort of like enthusiastic, like 80s action guy or whatever, and he's talking about the Quest at one point, and he's like, and then they steal an airship. Where the fuck do they get an airship from on an island? And you're like, yeah, that's a good point.
So Mark for Death is like, he carries the body. We don't know why because the credits roll. What is he doing?
So yeah, you got to check this guy. His name is Space Ice. And it's just like, he's like, Bloodsport is the greatest movie of all time. We're like, yes, of course it is.
Yeah.
So I wonder who that guy is, because I would love to have him on a stream.
We should get him on. Yeah, get him on here. Yeah,
that'd be a great laugh. Yeah. So Steve, your book is out now. Then
it is.
So tell us about it then. So for those who want it, Jay, do you have a link there you can post? Or
so Stephen Ball, Stephen's authors page is the link in the chat. So it's actually, I don't know if Owen, I think you might put in the description too, but it is a link in the chat, so you can see that, and it does work. That'll take you to Steve's page, and then from there, Steve, you can direct them.
Yeah. So you want to go to the books tab, and then all the books are there with links to where you can buy it. Madhouse is a short story anthology. Basically, people said, well, what's the genres? I'm like, horror and dark humor. The basic premise is that the reader is in a madhouse. and he is getting these stories from the different inmates in the mental asylum. So each story is a story from one of the inmates. So, and you can take whatever metaphor you want of what Madhouse is, and I'll tell you if that's what I was going for or not.
Yeah.
It's literally $2.
Yes.
Like it comes out to like $2.70 or something. So I mean, it's really inexpensive.
Yeah.
And Stephen is an incredibly talented writer, and I've loved all his books. So if you're looking for something good to read, Ultimate Stalking Stuffer, then pick that up. Also, I might as well just plug my brother's book here, One Destiny, which is a political thriller. If you haven't seen it, pick it up. Support independent authors. There we are. So anyway, we'll get started and go on to Die Hard before people lose interest. And I keep whittling on nonsense. But so I thought before we talk about the actual main villains of the Die Hard movies, I thought we'd talk about some of the assholes of it. And I think Die Hard, the first one, first two probably, but you have two of the best movie assholes maybe of all time, particularly the 80s. Yeah. Ellis, played by Hart Bochner, who is just the ultimate. Yeah, Hans, Booby, I'm your white knight.
Yeah,
I mean the most punchable character maybe ever. But then you don't just have him. You have Dick, by William Atherton, and he's just. He's such a prick. The journalist guy.
He's awesome.
Yeah, I love him, and in fact, he's in the second one, and I love the banter between him and Holly in the second one on the plane.
On the plane.
Like, that is your name, Dick.
And he's dickless. He's always something because he's from Ghostbusters. He's
dickless. The Ghostbusters. He was a dick, dickless, all this other stuff. I love it.
The smarmy character. He's just got it down pat.
Yeah, exactly. He's just so good at it. I mean, it's almost like it's the same character from Ghostbusters.
It may as well be,
Might as well, yeah.
He didn't get that big job, at the network, so he went into the EPA work. So there we go. We fixed it.
They brought him back. They never brought him back for any of the sequels later
on,
which is too bad.
They didn't bring anyone back for the sequels after the second one.
It could be argued that the first two are sort of the best because of the complete story. Because I always think John McClane needs Holly, and she isn't in any of the other ones. And I hate whenever he doesn't have Holly there because she's his reason for living, basically. Like I never bought it that they got divorced or whatever. I was like, he literally kills terrorists to save your life and everything. I was like, there's no way that they would have broken up, and that always kind of annoyed me.
That was my one issue with A Vengeance was the whole issue with the wife. I was like, dude, he has like thrown himself, bloodied himself, like done everything to save your life, to save this marriage, and now all of a sudden he hung up on her. And they haven't talked in however many years in the third one, and I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah, I never bought that.
I hate
that annoyed me.
It's a movie thing. They didn't get her back. They say we don't need Holly Gennaro or whatever.
Yeah, they didn't want to pay for her to come back, and it's like
let's just forget her.
I could have been fine with her for like 10 minutes. Seriously, you could have done it for 10 minutes, and I'd have been satisfied.
Nope. I know it's such a shame, but I mean, even the later ones, like as I consider, like bald Bruce Willis isn't John McClane. That's why I was like, there's only the first three movies I consider, and then the other two are sort of generic action movies. I do like Live Free or Die Hard, but I watched A Good Day to Die Hard the other day, and that's one of the worst films I've ever fucking seen. Actually, it's so bad. I actually forgotten just how terrible it is. Like it's an ugly film. Like it obviously came out just after the Bourne movies, so it looks grainy and ugly. I literally can't think of anything I liked about it whenever I watched it.
Well, the guy getting killed in the propeller in the propellers.
Yeah, that was cool.
I mean, that's all right, but it's also like half of the movie is like subtitled, even for the people that don't put subtitles on their movies. Because I had it on, I put it on in the shop today because I was like, well, I need to remember like all the villains, and I was like, why is all I hear is Russian? And that's all it was. That's all I was. They were talking for like 10 minutes. Then John talks. Then I'm back in Russia and back into subtitles. I'm like, well, this sucks to watch in the shop. I have no idea what's going on.
So, spoilers. This villain's my least favorite, but I couldn't even remember if I saw the movie. I'm like, this is the one where it's like are they rescuing him or protecting him or something? And then he's really the bad guy.
He's actually the bad guy. Yeah. Yuri Komarov, the character's called, played by Sebastian Koch.
So like,
This is the one where they go to Pandora and the blue guy. Oh no, that's not that movie.
Yeah, totally different movie. No, this is the one where I go, who's the bad guy? Oh, it's this person. Nope, not that one. It's this one. No, by the end of the movie, I'm going, the helicopter's the bad guy. That's who the bad guy is.
Spoilers. He's my worst. There's
the thing is, though, is that the worst character, actually the worst villain, and me and Stephen were talking about this already, is actually Jai Courtney's Jack McClane. And I was like, this guy's a fucking dick to his dad.
Yeah.
And Jay, I thought this is kind of similar to the way you feel about Sean Connery in The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
The way they're belittling the hero like that. But that's sort of, I thought it was kind of different because you could tell there was love there.
Right.
Between
that
them.
Is different.
But with Jack McClane, I was like, this guy's just a cock. I was like, I have no reason to like this guy at all from beginning to end. It was like nothing against Jai Courtney. That's not his fault. It's the script that's the problem.
Right.
And I was like, why haven't you made this character sympathetic?
They were just following exactly what they did in Live Free, Die Hard with the daughter. It's like, does the whole family fucking hate you? Like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, I can't believe, it makes him unsympathetic. Even though I care about John McClane, like, because your family thinks you're such a piece of shit, I don't care. I don't really care about any of you right now.
The problem is that I was thinking of this, Charlie. That's a great point. I'm actually against the family because as a viewer, I've seen all the great things John McClane has done. I've seen none of these grievances that the family's bringing up. So all I can go off of is what I've seen, and what I've seen is great John McClane. So I'm just like, the family are douchebags, all of them.
That's why the script is bad, because they're going by a generic trope. Oh, the family doesn't like him. It's like, right, but why? Like, they're forgetting the fact that I'm with John, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
he's supposed to be the hero.
Why can't they? Why don't they do? They did this. What was that? Was it Bill and Ted Part 3? I don't remember what it was called. There's Bill and Ted Face the Music, and they had the two kids. And the kids were exactly copies. And I was like, this is great. It's funny because it's like the kids love the dads.
You're the fruit of my tree. You obviously should act like me a little bit.
Why don't they have the father and son be like, yeah, we're going to kick ass
But they can't do that because this is the thing these days. It's like you're not allowed to show dads in a positive light.
Right.
You know, how dare you? And there's this thing. And it's a genuine, real thing where, and everyone's been saying this recently, and they're like, why are dads always shown to be the assholes all the time? I was like, you know, they get.
And that was the other thing was in the fifth one. It's like John doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit that they all think it. Like in the third one, I'll keep going back to the third one because I enjoy the third one.
So do I,
you could tell like he's pissed off at the fucking world. You know, he's drinking. He's depressed about everything. He doesn't get to see his family. By the fifth one, he's like, fuck it. I don't give a shit. I'm a piece of shit in the family. Yeah. Oh, my son might be in jail. I don't know where he is. Oh no, he's in fucking Russia, dude. He's a spy. I'm going to go to Russia now. I don't believe that you would go that far. I don't believe you would have done that. You would have called a contact that you obviously have in the FBI by now to go, hey, where the fuck is this kid at? Oh, okay. He's your kid. Here's where he is. Cool. Tell his dad said, hey, and I would have believed that more than
there's literally no stakes for John to be in this movie. Like, there's not anything to do with him. He's just along for the ride, and you're like, what the fuck is this? It's like, this isn't a Die Hard movie. It's a generic action movie.
We're watching the movie through his eyes. That's all we're doing. That's it.
Yeah.
And plus, why would the kid, they never think about this either. If the kid really doesn't like his father, why would he become like an actiony guy? Anyways, like normally when the kids and fathers, like if you look at the Rocky, you know, the kid, like it's like they're complete different. Like it's like, look, we don't have anything in common. We can't find common ground. They split. But it's like, oh, I'm like, if let's say the kid becomes a boxer.
Yep.
I know.
Damn it.
Could not be reached, dude. It's been 14 minutes and it's Star Wars already. This is the worst we've ever done. Let's face the facts. This is the worst that we've ever done. Normally it's an hour at least before Star Wars. But like, yeah, it's like, if let's say the kid's going to be a boxer. Oh, I hate you, Dad. Well, why are you a boxer? It's like this, like, why are you like a big special forces guy or whatever you are if you hate your father's stuff? Like,
you should be doing something different from him. So you want to separate yourself from him. Yeah.
Right.
And
like,
he had a record. How did he get the job? He had a record according to his dad. He'd been in and out of jail. He had to like bail him out and take a second mortgage on that. I literally watched the movie today. Is the only reason I know it.
Yeah, I was like, you have clearly. A lot of knowledge here.
I literally had it on because I honestly couldn't remember who the villain was.
Same here.
Like, yeah. I was like, and I got done watching it going, Well, that's a fucking waste of time. I guess I could have just looked it up. I was like, Jesus Christ.
That's what I did.
That's why I told you, Jay, man. We got you tonight, man. It's fine.
Know,
you don't have to watch it.
I saw that movie once, and I was like, I don't care about this at all. It's like, okay, and then I'm like, literally Google who is the villain in Die Hard 5. I don't even remember the name of the movie. It's like,
yeah, it's such weird. But I got the Blu-ray of it, and it has two versions: the theatrical and
they both suck.
They both suck. But you know what? The extended version does cuts out every scene with Mary Elizabeth Winstead in it. She is not in that movie whatsoever or even referenced.
And the ending is more sudden. Yeah, you're like, what?
Yeah, it just ends all of a sudden. I was like, man, this is weird.
I remember whenever I saw trailers and I saw interviews with the director beforehand, and he was like, yeah, we're not going to be having, the one-liners or the humor that we had before or whatever else, because people don't really like that anymore. And I was like, dude, this is a fucking Die Hard movie. That's exactly what people want.
That's
those guys.
More. That guy couldn't direct a toilet to flush. I'm sorry.
And he hasn't done anything since, has he?
No.
So
why don't they? I don't understand why they want to revive franchises and then don't want to go by the rules of the franchise. It's like, you don't accidentally get into making a franchise picture like, oh, I just lost my job. Let's go to the want ads. Oh, Tim Hortons is hiring. Oh, I can work at Walmart. Oh, I could direct Die Hard 5. But I don't like Die Hard. Fuck it. I'll direct Die Hard.
I'll make it terrible
and make it shit. Yeah. Like I don't like. Is that how that works? Like I don't get it. It's like, don't you want? Like you'd be like, oh, I'd love to make a Die Hard 5, and then you lean into it. Like take it back to the roots. Make it a one location thing again.
Straightforward.
Do it straightforward.
Just
100 minutes
into it, man.
Yeah, where's the banter?
The last movie this guy did was called IT with Pierce Brosnan in 2016.
Oh, yeah.
But what's really pissing me off? I had no idea this guy did Behind Enemy Lines. I was like, that was fucking good.
Good movie.
And you're the guy that gave me a good day to die hard. I mean, Jesus.
Good day to stay hard. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, there's no good night to stay hard. Where's the John McClane versus dialogue? Like they keep forgetting that. Like the cool parts was, look, Die Hard. The cool parts of Die Hard is him talking.
Talking
to the guy. Like, oh, hey, Hans. Oh, you got some shit going on here. Oh, okay.
To the guy or himself.
Yeah. That's the fun part. Having it like, oh, this isn't the villain. Surprise, it's the villain. It's like, yeah, but I want John McClane to talk shit to the bad guy. That's the cool part. Because look, I mean, Die Hard, they're awesome action movies. It's Bruce Willis selling that as a tough guy to be like, yeah, okay, Hans, fuck you. I can take you out anytime I want. Now, now I got a machine gun, which you've got your shirt.
Yeah.
That's the fun parts. Otherwise, if you remove all of that, then it's an action movie. And we can judge it as an action movie and say, okay, this was good or bad or whatever.
But Die Hard movie.
Yeah, Die Hard needs that I'm fighting. There can't be a surprise villain. This is the villain, and they know each other. I know you're the hero. You're going to try to stop me. And I know, like Sudden Death with Van Damme. That was a great Die Hard movie, it's basically a Die Hard movie. They're talking to each other, right?
Yeah.
That's a great Die Hard-ish clone or whatever. That's what's missing. Like that.
Yeah, it is.
Like, how did they miss out on that? It's baffling. What do you like about Die Hard? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Also, we should do a show on Sudden Death in the new year because that's one of my favorite Van Damme movies, actually.
Oh, that's a great.
I like Sudden Death a lot.
He fights a penguin, man.
Yeah, he fights a penguin.
Fights a penguin. I'm in.
Exactly. So, all right, I'll just start. It's just about 20 minutes, and we haven't actually started there yet. So, at number 5 is Yuri Komuro from A Good Day to Die Hard, played by Sebastian Koch, but also Alec, who's the main villain, the dancing guy.
The dancing guy. The daughter is a villain in it. She does the whole turncoat thing on it.
Total nothing villains who are totally forgettable, just like this movie. Like I said, the movie just looks like shit. Also, when I was watching the movie there, did you notice the car chase? And I was like, okay, this car chase is okay, although it went on too long. There's a bit where they're driving the truck and it's supposed to be moving the cars out of the way, but have you noticed the cars are moving out of the way too soon and it's not touching any of the cars?
Oh no!
Yeah.
I'm like, this is terrible. Like, how did you not notice this?
Because they weren't allowed to scratch the Mercedes armored truck thing they were
driving
being
pulled out of the way before.
Yeah, they were all on the cables, and you can watch them like the Moses parting the Red Seas. It's not the truck; it's like it has a force field, and it's just bumping the cars out of the way. It's stupid.
That's one of the worst things I've ever seen in an action movie. I'm like, what the hell? That's so.
The helicopter sequence is the most redeeming thing of the movie. You know, because it's like there's a prolonged helicopter sequence in this. You know, and I do love me a Die Hard movie that includes a helicopter. I think you kind of have. Second one doesn't have a helicopter. I think all the other ones do.
Second one has lots of planes though.
Lots of planes.
It does have a helicopter where he jumps off the helicopter onto the plane at the end. So
that's right. There is a helicopter. So there's a helicopter in every Die Hard.
Yeah. So Yuri is my number 5 anyway. He's just terrible, and also stick in Jack McClane there as well because he's a dick. Yeah. So there we are. So
I'm with you. I have nothing more to say.
Everybody agreed to that.
I'm at 5.
It's got to be 5. Like I thought the daughter was the main villain through most of it, and her most memorable moment was her wardrobe malfunction when the helicopter blew up her shirt. Like that was the only part of that entire movie I remember her having, and it had nothing to do with the character. P.S. Why is that in the movie? Because she's obviously trying to get it down. Like, why is this take in the movie? It makes no freaking sense.
Because the dude got a hard on for it.
It's just John. Anyhow, it's number 5.
And that was another scene with the daughter that is another shit on John moment where he goes, something ain't right here. This doesn't smell right.
Yeah.
So we're all not going to listen to the dude that has literally saved thousands of people, stopped terrorists for years. When he goes, he's got a bad feeling. Stop it, Dad. You're full of shit.
Right.
No.
That's when insurance companies go bankrupt, or what is the line? Something like that. Or something like that. I forgot.
Okay, so so that's definitely. Also, you get the scene in the trailer, which wasn't in the movie, and it was one of the scenes I was looking forward to, where she's unzipping her top. And the leather outfit and opening up, but that's then it cuts in the movie. I was like,
that's on the IMDb first thing when you click it up. It's that scene.
Just sell you to go see it, and I was like, oh, she's taking her clothes off. Okay, so
not in the movie.
Not even in it. I'm like,
nope.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, fuck the 5th movie then. So Yuri is definitely the villain.
Skip it if you haven't seen it. Skip it. Just the Die Hard battery commercial is a better Die Hard movie than Die Hard.
Literally, it is. Yeah. So. Now, here's controversial. My 3 and 4 were hard to pick.
Me too.
But this one, Simon Peter Gruber, Jeremy Irons from Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Oh.
So I love Die Hard with a Vengeance. It's one of my favorite movies. But I actually love Simon Gruber as Jeremy Irons because out for revenge and everything else. But I'm judging these guys by how evil they are and what they do. And he's not evil enough. Like, I actually kind of like him. I was like, I'd work for this guy. I thought he was nowhere as bad as his brother was. Apart from, he does shoot Samuel L. Jackson, but then he's like, you shot me. And he's like, well, I didn't invite you onto this boat. And he's like, yeah, I mean, the man's got a point. It's like, he didn't tell you to come here. I mean, all he wanted to do was get the money. He wasn't interested in revenge. It was always about the money because that was his family.
That's awesome.
So I'd work for Simon.
He's not that bad. He's
just
a nice guy, really.
So he's my number 4. I love him. I think he's great, but I think I can't remember the character's name, but the blonde woman, I think she's the most evil.
Katya.
Gotcha, yeah.
Gotcha.
And then she shoots her own man.
Well, that's because she slices the supposed boyfriend of the entire movie's neck.
Yeah, no, she shoots him a bunch of times, and then it's the guard. The guard slices them in multiple times.
Spins around in a circle. I'm like, well, this is pretty. This is nice. She's all covered in blood and everything. That's cool.
So that's my number 4. So Charlie, who's your number 4?
Well, you went hot, but I almost think mine's a little hotter. Colonel Stewart is my number 4 villain from Die Hard 2. He doesn't have enough interaction with John. He's literally the main guy that's just talking to the tower the entire movie. They pass each other in the terminal. That's about it until the very end. And it is a bitch fight at the end that John falls off of the airplane. Colonel Stewart goes right back in the plane and we're done. Ta-da. I wash my hands, go, plane blows up. He had a bigger fight with Grant than he did with Stewart. He had more interaction with Grant than he did with Stewart. So I appreciate the fact we got to see dude's butt the entire first minute and a half of Die Hard 2. I always love me some William Sadler, speaking of Bill and Ted when we were talking about it. Mr. Grim Reaper himself
Yeah.
But as far as a diehard villain that is like on par with John McClane, I'm going to give number 4 to, William Sadler.
But the main villain is never a physical threat. It's not about physical threat. It's always about the mental threat with the villains. Like, he never fights Hans Gruber either. And he doesn't, he only has like a couple of moments with him, but it's mostly communicating as well. So to me, it's always the mental game of cat and mouse he has with the villains rather than the physical.
So then on that thought, then there is no villain in Die Hard 2 because he can let those guys go. It has no bearing on his mission, which is to get his wife's plane to land safely. They could have focused more on trying to get control of the runway lights, get control of the radio tower, anything, and just completely ignored Colonel Stewart the entire movie. It was just one of those things where John only cares about, who cares if Esperanza made it out of there? That's someone else's problem. It's Christmas. I got my mother-in-law's car towed. I got bigger problems than Esperanza. So it literally could have changed the entire movie dynamic of just going, fuck it. I'm going to just try to help them get my wife's plane down. Because at the end of the day, even when he stopped Colonel Stewart, they still had to figure out how to get the planes down. It just so happened that the plane taking off made a runway, so it's just,
right.
That's why it's my 4.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Stephen?
I'm going to be boring. I'm going to pick Thomas Gabriel from Live Free and Die Hard.
Not Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah.
No.
Not the Heffalump.
No.
Yeah. I mean, this guy is a walking PSA through the entire movie. Like, he makes speeches. He makes speeches.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
not threatening at all. Yeah.
He's just he's there for, to prove that we, America is not, safe, and, to prove the infrastructure is wrong. I'm like, Maggie Q is a far more threatening villain to me. He, like, Bruce Willis literally has to drive a car through her and then drive it down the elevator shaft to beat her. Like,
she's a great henchman, though.
She is one of the best henchmen in the series.
Absolutely. I have her name wrote down. So
yeah, I love Maggie Q, especially in that movie. But Thomas Gabriel is just, and Timothy Olyphant is a great actor, but he's just making speeches through the entire film to me, and I'm just. At the end, I mean, Bruce, John McClane has to basically shoot himself to kill him, which is like, okay,
this thing, right, where he goes like,
he shoots through the shoulder and he kills
and
Thomas
cuts out the line.
Yeah, and then the line, depending what version you hear, you hear the line.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just I found him very bland. I just found him very like, oh, here he is. Okay, yes, infrastructure. Yeah, okay. Moving on. Like, and I felt like this a lot, like moving on when I watched that performance. So he's fine. I don't hate him or anything, but that's sort of the problem. I don't hate him. I don't feel anything really towards him. I'm just like terrorist, doing, techie things and trying to steal, trying to take down the infrastructure, which is this grand scheme, but it's not tangible to me. I don't really understand how it's going to work.
Right.
So I'm like, sure.
Okay.
It makes you feel better. Like,
fair.
All right, Jay.
Yeah, so I'm glad I went last, and I'm still confused. This was tough for me because there's J-Man movie nerd, and then there's J-Man who just wants to watch a cool movie, and he's torn between which one of those. I want to say Gabriel, sort of for what Steve was saying. He's just like, I love Timothy Olyphant. Oh, I'd like to say this too. I know this is true for all of us, but we're all 4 of these guys. The actors are awesome.
Yes.
Yes. So this is like,
this is difficult.
This is like not easy.
No, it's not at all. I'm not questioning my choices.
Yeah, like because I feel that Gabriel is still running the show, and Stewart is more like he just happens to be like he's there, and then John McClane is like doesn't really care that much. It's like what Charlie was saying, right? So this is where I'm at, where it's like, yeah, you guys are making great points on both ends. I'm gonna go with Gabriel. And the only reason really is that I like Die Hard 2 better than Die Hard 4.
That's not what we're judging here, Jay.
I know.
Come on, man.
The villain is what makes the movie, though. That's the thing. It's like if the villain isn't that memorable, then the film's not that great.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like Naked Sadler.
And who doesn't?
Right, because
Can we save that clip? Can we save that for later shows?
Okay, you know what could have turned if it was Naked Maggie Q? That would have I would have definitely
I don't think any of us could have argued with that.
No.
Yeah, I think for what Steve said, there's a lot of the PSA was a good point, because I was trying to think of it's like he's doing the speeches like save the speeches for Malcolm X. I just that was a line from Heathers, one of my favorite movies of all time. The guy's like, save the speeches for Malcolm X. I still love Timothy Olyphant. I like his voice. I like his face. He looks like he's like a serious, like he's got stuff that he wants to do, but you almost kind of felt like he's not justified, but they could try to justify him a little bit. So I'm like, okay. And Sadler is just more like, he's just kind of a dick, and he's just got that face that he's just like a dick. And so I'm gonna say Gabriel is my fourth down.
So Gabriel is my number 3. Which, although really I probably should have done the other way around, because I think he should have been lower, but like I said, I don't think he was much of a threat, but I think he's one of the few things I actually liked about the movie. I don't particularly like it. I don't watch it often. I remember when they released it as PG-13, I didn't even see it in the theater.
We saw it, I think, right?
I heard it was PG-13, so I didn't support it, and I was like, no, I will not support it. So I waited until it was out. No, I watched it at home, and I was like, yeah, it's fine. I watched the unrated version, and I was like, yeah, it's mildly better, but even then, it's still just.
It doesn't fix a whole lot,
Yeah.
It has a few decent action scenes and everything. I mean, the set pieces are decent, but this is John McClane's superhero in this one. But with Gabriel, one reason why I had him high up is because there's one scene which I thought was quite ingenious, and that's the scene where the scene on the TVs is showing all the presidents doing the speech. And I just thought that must have taken ages to edit that together. We're just making all of the speeches.
So he sat there editing,
we cannot be stopped or whatever it is, and just doing.
What did he say? I tried to find more Nixon and just couldn't find enough.
But I just thought that was a really cool idea, and I thought it was a perfect villain for modern times, as like using the internet and things like that. And I thought, okay, I like that idea of it. But once again, it's like the 5th movie, where John himself doesn't really have anything to do with it. He's just there protecting this kid, but there's no particular stakes between him. He could walk away at any time and it wouldn't, affect him. But but he's the hero, and like they said, that's what makes him that guy. So
gotta be that guy.
But yeah, I love Timothy Hefflin and everything. He makes everything better, and I just think he's so cool. Yeah, and even when he's a villain, even though he's not, particularly scary in this, I just think he brings that intensity just with his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me of Michael Biehn a bit. I think that's similar sort of intensity. I think it's like a modern version of him. I really liked him in that. So he's my number 3 is Thomas Gabriel. So
I can go because I already said mine.
Oh, did you?
Colonel Stewart. I was between those two.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So right. Stewart's my number 3 then. So for this is what I was toying with. Who do I those two?
You have spoken. Okay.
Same thing as what Charlie was saying for Colonel Stewart for your reasoning for the 4th. I just ranked him a little bit above just because of I like the movie a bit more. And I mean, Die Hard 1, 2, and 3 are for me, the Die Hard movies got slightly declined as they went along. Right?
I have to agree with that. Even though I like the
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. Colonel Stewart. I don't mind the naked. I like the naked thing because the guy's intense. He's like
very much.
He's focused. He doesn't care. He's not out to look pretty. He's not out to like be a cool looking guy. Like Hans Gruber's guy's little notebook, and he knows he's being cool, right?
Right.
Like this Sadler's like, fuck, I've got a mission. I can't be like, I'm not farting around with shit, So I do like that aspect of the character. So that's why I kind of ranked it. But
the problem was none of that intensity or focus was ever directed at John.
Right. Yeah. That right. Right. So it is an interesting thing where the villain isn't directly connected, but the cool parts of Die Hard is this is why Die Hard 1 is an awesome movie to me. The lines are awesome because it's them fighting off. I like Cat and Mouse. I like the smart guy, So yeah, that's Colonel Stewart. So yeah, there you go.
All right, Charlie.
It is going to be Timothy Olyphant for my third one. I actually like the switch up for this villain because he's a smart villain. He's a tech villain, something John has zero knowledge. And they push that way too hard.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Yeah, they push it a little too hard in the movie about that, especially with all the dialogue with Kevin Smith. But I like that it was like this fish out of water thing. Yeah, probably. But it was just this whole thing of John now is like, how do I deal with this guy? So the only way that you're going to avoid the William Sadler issue is now we have to care about Justin Long's character. Now that's John's mission, is to protect him. Even so much as he's got him pretty much nailed down, now we got to go kidnap John's daughter just to fuck with him. So now John really has to get involved, which is where we get the McClane end of this movie. It's like, okay, you got my daughter. I'm going to now infiltrate. We get the big throwdown with Maggie Q at the water treatment plant and all this other stuff. So I finally got to see some, Die Hard things. And he takes a helicopter out with a car. That is always going to be. And one of the other henchmen, so as we're talking some henchmen, is what's his name? Cyril, the French kickboxer dude.
Yeah.
I love that guy in movies, man. And he jumps out of the helicopter before it explodes. So, Maggie Q and then that guy. But I like Timothy Olyphant. He rarely ever loses his cool. Even when he does, it's still not as intense, like spitting and screaming or shooting someone. You can just tell like he's pissed and everyone snaps to attention. And it's Timothy Olyphant. I will be a fan of Timothy. I don't care what he's doing. I'll watch a Hallmark movie with Timothy Olyphant.
You could read the phone book and it would be awesome.
Anything. I don't care. He could read me the novelization of Justified, and I would be totally there for it.
That would be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
That would be. Yeah. If we got him and Walter Goggins both reading Justified, I'm in. But he's going to be my number 3. Because I really like the character. I like it's a different change up for how John has to deal with him. He can't just go in and punch this guy. It takes a while before he's able to do it. Yeah, it sucks. He has to shoot himself through the arm in order to do it. But that guy's not thinking that's the level that John McClane would go. It's like all the other guys would think.
John McClane is a low-tech man in a high-tech world. There you go. And that's the thing. He does it in analog ways.
There's a song called "An Analog Man in a Digital World," and that is John McClane in this movie, where he's like, how do I shoot this guy? He's right behind me. I'm just going to shoot through my own shoulder.
I got no arm.
Then tell my daughter, don't tell anyone I did that. And it's totally fine. But, Timothy Olyphant, he's my number 3.
All right, Steve.
Simon Gruber, my number 3. I think Jeremy Irons, he's awesome. Obviously, the thing is that I really like the beginning of Die Hard, where he's got him doing Simon Says, all that stuff. It's very twisted, and you can believe it that like, oh, you killed my brother. Now I'm going to put you through the ringer. And I love the stuff he makes him do. Right, because it's so random and ridiculous, and like
it was different from the other two as well.
Yeah, just vile, right? It was personal, which was the difference because the other two weren't personal.
The most personal of all the Die Hard films, if you think about it.
Exactly, but then he switches and he's like, "Oh, they bought it," right? He says they bought it, and then he's stealing money. Which initially I thought, "Oh, that's cool." He is like Hans; he's just a thief. But then I'm like. I kind of like the other stuff, and then he's making out with Katya, and I'm like, he lost a little bit of teeth to me when he started to do that, and then I'm sorry, Die Hard 3, the ending just is very weird to me. His death is very, very
anticlimactic,
like very anticlimactic. It felt tacked on. It was tacked on. I kind of wish they kept the original a bit. Like I like
the rocket launcher one,
the rocket launcher, like at close quarters, because it shows that McClane. The whole thing with Holly leaving him, you had to believe that he was going through some massive PTSD, and he was now getting to that point where that line between hero and villain was blurring a bit. That would have completed the full circle. But they're like, oh, we went too far. I'm like, you took away Holly Gennaro and gave him no reason to continue living. Mm-hmm. This is the actual conclusion to what you started. But they sort of got rid of that because they didn't have the balls to do it, and they just tacked on something that's like, okay, yeah, you know, the helicopter again, and it gets in the wires and boom. Yeah. And it just feels very like weird. It doesn't feel a part of the movie to me. Mm-hmm. Definitely not the style. Simon Gruber is a cool villain. It's just, I feel like, you know, the uniqueness of him got lost halfway through the film, and he became a carbon copy of Hans Gruber with a cute blonde sidekick. So.
Yeah. And he just wasn't that threatening either. That was the thing, is that, you know, I think it would have been more interesting if he was unhinged. Whereas maybe there was supposed to be the heist at the end, but he got too obsessed with revenge that he had to go become lone wolf at the end, and you know, he basically like killed his own men or something, and then was just after John. You know, that would have been a bit more interesting. I mean, I don't know if I'm having that Mandela effect. Do you know where you remember something different than the way it is? And I could have sworn that initially there was an ending that was initially going to happen in Die Hard with a Vengeance where they blew up an entire city block. And I remember hearing about that, and it was going to be this really explosive ending, but they changed it because of the World Trade Center bombings in the 90s. And that just happened like a year or two before. And I thought they changed it. But can I find anything about that anywhere? No. So maybe I dreamt it. Maybe it happened. And I don't think
it's the same as Michael Fassbender in Prometheus. I swore up and J-Man can attest to this. I swore up and down he did the little running in place thing that Ash did in Alien. I swear he did it. I remember seeing that in the theater, and I remember thinking, "Oh, that's cool. He's replicating what Ian Holm did." That did not happen at all in any. I looked all over. That did not.
I saw Prometheus 3 times in IMAX.
Michael Fassbender never did that, but I swear he got out of cryogenics, and he did the running and placing that Ian Holm did as Ash in Alien. I swear it happened. It did.
I mean, he ran around.
He ran around.
Yeah, he did do the jogging, and did the basketball.
Like, to me, it was like the 2001. It was more 2001 style.
Yeah, it was. No, it's not. But I swear, where Ian Holm just is like, right. I swear he did that. I swear he did that, and he did not. He did not do that.
Wow.
Okay. So we're at number 2 then.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
Hans Gruber is my
Damn
number
it.
2.
I have to go. Sorry, my wife's calling me. I have to go.
So
my camera's going to freeze again.
I was like, oh no, it's frozen.
That was better.
You got something right here.
Yeah.
So, and you're going to hear my explanation about my number 1 when I get to it. But I love Hans Gruber, and it's hard to pick a number 1. But remember, I'm going by how evil the person is. And Hans Gruber is an evil bastard. There's no doubts there. I mean, he shot Mr. Takagi in cold blood. I mean, he is a monster, and he is the best villain in terms of a character, I would say, but he's not my favorite villain because I'm going by just, who the most evil is. And like Hans Gruber's great because he's sophisticated, he's intelligent, and I love watching him unravel as John fucks with him more. It's not the police, it's him. It's just getting like more and more annoyed because his plan is falling apart. But then you do have maybe one of the best scenes of the entire franchise is the Bill Clay scene, whenever the two meet face to face for the first time, and he's pretending to be Bill Clay, and I was like, that's a fantastic scene. I absolutely love it. So yeah, I mean, Hans is fantastic, and it's definitely very close to me for me. But I'll tell you my reasons for my number 1 in a minute. So anyway, Charlie.
Simon. It's going to be Hans's brother. I love this character, man. To me, I love the only iteration that they were facing each other was through the telephone calls and the riddles, and even before you find out that he's Hans's brother, which is later, it's just this whole like Riddler Batman kind of thing. Like, maybe you can solve this riddle. Okay, you solved that one. I have more planned, and it's this entire cat and mouse. And then I get to watch Simon as the movie goes, where he does the American accent, walks in on Wall Street to go talk to those guys, just this complete change of demeanor that he has. I believe him. I believe he is a cold, calculated, he's kind of a mercenary. I guess we could call him a mercenary, but ultimately he does become a thief. He does, keep with the Gruber bloodline of we're just exceptional thieves. And I like, as it goes on, that he's even had a plan against his own men. He did his right-hand guy dirty. The right-hand guy thought, this is what we're doing. We're blowing up the gold. It's going to sink to the bottom. We're fucking shit up. And he's like, nah, we're not doing that. Kill him. Like, why not just be like, no, we're not doing that, bruh. I got all the gold. Let's fuck off out of here. And if I was that dude, I'd be like, yeah, that's a better idea. You're right, man. I'm with you. No, he's got to let his girlfriend kill him and find out you're fucking my girlfriend. That's messed up, man. You don't do that shit. But it's the way that he has just messed with John the entire movie. He's having fun with it. Yeah. It's about his brother, but he's like, yeah, he was an asshole. You're right. He was, he's like, threw your brother off of a building, and so he's like, he's laughing it off at the end. That's a fucking psycho. That's just a dude that's like, yeah, you almost got me, but you're tied up to a bomb and you're going to end up at the bottom with a bunch of metal. And they're going to spend a lot of time trying to find out what happened, and I just love the yes, the ending sucks. I do agree. I think it's my same complaint with William Sadler's ending is, let's just blow up the bad guy. It's like, no, man, I need personal. I need fisticuffs. I need like up close shooting when it comes to this stuff. And you're not real, like, even with Hans, you had up close personal battle. And, the second one, we don't get it. The third one, we don't get it. Fourth one, we get it. And the fifth one, we kind of get it, even though John doesn't do it. So it's like one of the only like bitches about the franchise is I want John right into it. Like, I want that comeuppance for the villains in these, not just shot, wire falls in the helicopter, boom, he's dead. On Canada's side of the border, might I add, too.
Who'd thought Canada would be this much fun?
But yeah, Simon Gruber is my number 2.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, I'm not going to my own take all the heat. I'm going to also agree with Hans Gruber.
J-Man, what the hell?
What's going on around here?
And Charlie did make a really good argument about Stewart, and I almost was like, yeah, I always meant Hans Gruber to be number 1. Sort of like trying.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Owen and I actually had a conversation on Sunday about this, and I couldn't
talking behind our backs.
Damn it, man! We should have allianced more.
It's called research, guys. Research.
We did
anyways. We're so close.
That's right. That's right. That's my Canadian brother right there. You didn't know that.
I wrote an article for Reaction Elite, cheap plug, about Hans Gruber and
get that book signing thing just right. Quick plug, Action Elite.
I'm also an author.
About how Hans Gruber is basically a king in a chess game, right? He doesn't leave his spot. When he leaves his spot, he actually that's when he gets in trouble, right? That's when he leaves his kingdom. He goes up, and that's the only time he's really in peril of McClane killing him before he has a chance to get to that ending, right? He sends out all people. You think about, Owen's wearing the T-shirt. I have a machine gun now. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
He's more worried about that than the fact that one of his guys is the guy lying dead with that shirt on. He doesn't care about that.
He's more worried about having to tell Carl.
Yeah,
that was actually what he was more worried about. Yeah.
Also,
and
Carl's
he's also more worried that someone else has this guy has a machine gun now. That's what he's worried about. Like, he now has a weapon. He's a brilliant strategist. It would have been the perfect plan. He would have got away with it without McClane being there. There's no other way to look at it. Like he was the fly in the ointment. If not for that, it was a perfect plan.
Yeah.
Reason why he's my number 2 is because, and he even says this, he's like, I'm a very good thief, and you should have respect now that I've graduated to kidnapping. Right. When I explained my number 1, I think if Gruber had the opportunity, he would have gotten higher up into the villain chain. He didn't get that opportunity because the movie ended and he was dropped off the top floor.
Which happens when you fall off the building.
Yeah. So, he's a genius. Alan Rickman, God rest his soul, was a genius actor in pretty much every role he took on. Hans Gruber is a legend, and he deserves to be a legend. And if not for why I'm going to explain my number 1, he would have been my number 1.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jima?
Simon, so I agreed with Steve before on the other on what's his face, Timothy, but I disagree with the Simon on you guys, because the typical thing in a trilogy, the third movie, I'll bring it back to part 1. It's personal. It's all personal. It's revenge on my brother. It's like, no, it's not. I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is what's called subverting expectations in a cool way. It's like
not the Last Jedi way.
Not the Last Jedi way. 50 minutes. See, this is where I had it planned.
J-Man had it planned, and we stole his thunder at 14 minutes. Damn it, man.
So the thing is that firstly, I like the riddles and all that. That's cool. He's in control. This is one of the times where the villain is directing traffic. Oh, hi, Mr. McClane. I'm going to see you over here. Now I'm going to see you over here. The fly in the ointment is Hans, which we'll get to, since that's obviously my number 1. But this is where it's reversed now, because John is the troublemaker and running around doing stuff. Now it's like, oh fuck, now they've got me running around where they're telling me where to go. I like that. And changing it to where it's like, yeah, my brother's a dick. Well, what do I care? Right. I friggin' hate when these villains cry over their. Listen, you've killed so many people without any remorse, but now that your brother's dead, now you have remorse. That's not how emotions work. You're either a psychopath and detached from emotions, which means you don't care about your brother either. You don't care if your mother dies. You have no emotions. It's like, this guy doesn't care. It's like, yeah, I'm a thief. I don't care about my own, Charlie was saying, I don't care about my own people. What do I care? That's cool. I think that's scary. The fact that he doesn't care about anything, not his brother, not his friend who's helped him out. Plus he's calculating. He could almost be number 1, really. And I'm not a super Die Hard 3 fan. I like Die Hard 3. That's as far as I go. But Jeremy Irons is awesome. I like the way this played out. This was the one thing that kind of got me. I'm like, oh, it's all for the brother. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, here we go. Oh, my brother. Okay, fine. And then it's like, oh no, it's not. I'm like, hey, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming, because that's the typical thing to do, which is I want revenge. And he could have become unhinged, which Owen, you pointed out. That could have been a strategy, but I kind of like the fact that he remained as this. It's not psychotic. What's the term where you don't even care? It's like
sociopathic.
He's a sociopath, yeah. High functioning sociopath. So it's like, that's cool. We haven't really seen villains like that. Like guys getting angry and stuff. Yeah, okay, I've seen that 1,000 times. But this guy who, it's like, what's his plan? And I like the fact that it's like it reversed on you. You're like, oh, I almost got 2 movies here, because I've got this first half, which is all weird and crazy, and now you flipped it on me, which I didn't expect. And that's subverting expectations in a cool way while keeping it true. Because why would Simon care about Hans? It's like, if he cared so much, why didn't they team up and take out?
Why didn't he just assassinate John?
Right, or just
anything.
Right,
it was all a ruse. Yeah.
It's all a ruse,
it's all
which
a
is
ruse.
cool.
Yeah,
but here's the thing. Here's the one thing about Simon, though, that people forget is he actually had a plan that would have worked had it not been for Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
Like, John McClane was not in any position to deal with any of those riddles. Hell, he didn't even know the elephant one. He would have probably died at the first chance.
See, I love that he's not that smart, John. Like, John is never sort of the smart.
He's the everyman. I'm not that smart. I mean, But I mean,
who doesn't know the St. Ives one? Everyone. How many people are going? One, because you're the one going there. Come on, that's like grade school.
The only time he is like of use is when it's chaos. Like we're gonna go through the
He's
park.
a blunt instrument.
We can't go through the park. He goes, no, I'm going through the park. That's how he gets there faster. I mean, that is what I like. But Simon had a plan that was going to work. He was going to kill John McClane and get away with all the gold. But his own hubris, which was, let Samuel L. Jackson, maybe that'll fuck with John a little bit more and they won't get along and they'll kill each other. It was because he thought that was making his plan just a little bit better. Had he not, John McClane would have been blown up, done, dead, fell for every little thing, and they would have got away with the gold.
Yeah, and it is a movie, so there's going to be movie-isms. It's like
there has to be, but if we have to break it down into like the minutia of villainy, it's like Simon is the one that probably could have offed John. It was just his own fault that he didn't.
Yeah, so there you go. That's my numero two.
Is that everyone's number two then? So it's now number one.
We're number one now.
Before I get to number one, then I meant to mention under the assholes, Carmine, who I think is actually, I hate that character so much, played by Dennis Franz, is like such an unhelpful, unrealistically unhelpful dick in it though. And I'm like, to me, it just pushed credibility. And I was like, you're such an asshole.
He was a better villain in Die Hard 2 than anyone else.
What sets off the metal detector first is shit in your you let me ask your
brains. Yeah.
Also, that is the worst cops ever at that airport, because when John pulls that submachine gun out and pulls the trigger at Carmine, the cops pull the cops pull their guns and they're like, well, let's wait and see what happens. Like, no, he would have been gunned down, dead.
They're all
done.
British. They were all British cops.
Apparently, they all had their batons out, ready to smack him in the head.
What's going on here then, eh?
You better stop. If you don't stop, I'll say stop again.
I'll shake my finger harder.
But I mean, it was just this whole thing of like, okay, let's not listen to the guy that's been through the shit. He's also a cop. It should be a little bit of give and take. Like, okay, man, I'm going to take it into consideration. We did find 2 fucking dead bodies in the baggage area, and they obviously weren't stealing luggage. Period.
Yeah, that annoyed me about the film, because you're like,
I hate that.
Yeah, that's what the biggest flaw for the movie for me is that that people just argue with him too much, and I'm like this guy's dealt with this before. Everyone's being an asshole, and in reality, if people are in danger at an airport, you're not going to be like, oh, who cares? You're going to fucking look into it and you're going to take it seriously.
Marvin is the only saving grace in that movie. The guy in the but there's only one maintenance guy for an entire airport. Yeah. It's like, come on. But I mean, I don't like those guys.
I know. So anyway, my number one is Colonel Stewart. Now you're going to be like, but why? Because this motherfucker deliberately crashes a plane and kills over 300 people just to make a point. He doesn't care. He kills 300 people for nothing. And I was like, that's the most evil thing anybody in the franchise has done. That's Thanos level evil, right? It doesn't get more evil than that. And the stakes are there for John because his wife is on one of the planes. So he has to stop Stewart and all those guys because the planes are all running out of fuel and they're going to be landing very soon. So there's this desperate thing where, which is like the first one, like John could stay hidden in Nakatomi Plaza and not done anything, but his wife was in danger. So he had to do his job and do that. And that's what he was doing in this one too, where he's like, okay, I'm going to do this because no one else is believing me. This is down to me to stop this. So Colonel Stewart is the craziest of all of them. But then you have the added bonus of Franco Nero as Esperanza, who's a violent dictator. And if he gets away, then he'll go back to his country and all hell will break loose in the world. But then you also have the added bonus of John Amos as Grant. Who, is a brilliant switcheroo where you've got you think that he's this great guy and you actually sort of like him. And you're taking to him, and
he's
then
super likable.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And then you get
he's the one that starts yelling at Carmine, which is what you start liking him, going, I like this guy.
Yeah, and that's why it's so great. Whenever you're like, what the hell? And it's such a great twist. So this one has just like really great villains, but and then of course Violent Night, of course, nodded to him as well, which I thought was entertaining. But Yeah, I mean, the dude crashed a plane and killed over 300 people. And then watching Die Hard 2 since 9/11 also changes the movie a great deal. Where it used to be, oh, this is a nonsensical action movie. This will never happen. Oh, it did. And, and that's the thing, is that it's a real evil. And that's why I have him at number one, where he's not out for money or anything else. He's trying to free this guy and then they can go away, whatever. But the guy deliberately crashes a plane. So that's why he's my number one.
Also, little old ladies wouldn't have got on the plane with tasers. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Well, they probably would have then, because it was a very different time then. But these days,
that's what I'm saying. Back then, now with everything going on, but knowing what J-Man said earlier, movieisms you have to have with a movie. What if Holly had been on the plane that Colonel sunk at the first time? Boom, done. Now there's nothing. Now he's pissed that his wife's dead, but would he have kept going? Would there have been that draw to continue on?
It would have been revenge then.
Yeah. So that's a movieism. It has to. She has
to be. Her plane had to be one of the ones that didn't have enough fuel to be diverted, even though they got control. Her plane
all the planes were. I mean, there's like all these planes were like circling around, so they were all going to start dropping. Like,
that was the whole thing, and that's where it was like my whole thing is like John is trying to stop. I guess John's really not giving a shit about what's going on. He's just trying to figure out, okay, how do they have control? If I stop them, we get control. It's just as the movie goes and the planes are on fuel, I lose that sense of urgency that he really needs to stop Colonel Stewart before the plane crashes. Now you need to get there's one scene in Die Hard 2 that always gets me, and is when he runs out onto the airstrip to try to help that one plane land and they crash. I mean, that is some powerful, and he's the only one that goes out there. No one else goes out. Like somebody fucking line the things up with trucks, fire trucks, anything, line the runway. No one does anything, but he goes out with torches and tries to fix the issue. That's the John McClane part I like. He's got a job to do.
Yeah,
he does kill. He kills what's his name in Star Trek? O'Brien.
Yeah, Chief Miles O'Brien.
That's what it was.
Cole Meany.
Cole Meany. That's what I was trying to think of.
A great actor. But yeah, and then what was I going to say about it? Something about John Amos. Damn it.
He was in Beastmaster, and you just get to see him in, basically a thong the entire movie.
So
Coming to America.
Yeah. Oh, he's in tons of stuff. Yeah, I mean, he's a great actor in loads of things. But I can't remember what the point was that I was going to make. But I'm sure it was fascinating. So anyway, so that's my number one and my reasons for it. Anyway, like he crashes a plane, which is the most evil thing anybody has done in the entire franchise. So that's why he's number one. It's that simple.
Yeah, Die Hard 2 has a body count of 271 because of that plane crash.
Right.
So
that's crazy.
I thought
we just covered it for our the whole body count of the whole movie was 271.
I thought there were 300 people in the plane.
No, they actually say it in the movie. Yeah. They say we have so many people.
Yeah.
And John McClane is basically the only other person that kills everyone except for like two other people in the movie. Yeah. It's all John killing them.
Oh, I remembered. I remember when I love the final fight when he's having with John Amos. And he's like, "Too bad, McClane. I was just starting to like you." And then he goes, "I got enough friends." I love that line.
It's a great.
I just thought that's something you got to say to the ladies anytime they say they want to be just friends. And then you throw them into the engine of a plane and say, "I got enough friends."
And that plane would not have kept going either. That would have messed up that plane. Yeah. But that was my problem. Is I got the great fight right there, but Colonel Stewart is my bad guy. He's the guy that is the mastermind behind it all. But yet the fight was basically the Carl thing from the first one. You fight the big henchman, but you don't ever get to fight the main bad guy. And I was like, I don't like it. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Okay. So, everyone else is pretty much going to be,
Steve's not Hans.
Same as me.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Right, Charlie.
Hans Gruber, man, there can only be one, and it's Hans Gruber, the original, the big baddie, the exceptional thief is Hans Gruber. I mean, this guy, like you said, Owen, he was perfectly calculated. He had a plan. He knew what the FBI was going to do. He knew how to get into the vault. He had personally selected every person on his team for a specific skill, and he had it down. And the only reason it failed was because someone invited John McClane to the Christmas party, and he gets separated from everything. And he is a man of honor, a man of action. You have my wife, but I'm not just going to go guns a-blazing. I'm going to, you know, try to figure out how to, he tries to call the cops first, tries to do it the right way. They're no help. I love how he's a cop. In almost every movie, he makes out the other cops to be incompetent. In every movie, just about, it's like, you guys don't know what the fuck you're doing. Even in Die Hard, Live Free or Die Hard, he makes the entire like security DOD look like idiots because he's figuring out everything before them. But Hans is always is like, okay, I don't know who this guy is. Maybe he's a security guy. I'll use a hostage to flush him out, and that's how we lose. Name lost me. Crap. The guy that wants Coke that he kills the hostage.
Ellis.
There we go. Troy's drinking tonight, boys. Yeah.
Art Faulkner.
You know,
Supergirl saved him in her movie. But...
Exactly. Yeah. So we know, like, you know, he does kill Takagi, but now we know that he will kill any hostage to get what he wants. You know, he does everything. Then he finds out, okay, I have this guy's wife. I have the ultimate ace. We find out that, okay, she's not going to be safe. He's going to kill her. So John has to go all out. All amidst, we also find out that he's ready to kill every hostage in that building by blowing up the top of the building as they get onto the helicopter to make it look like they all die. You know, so it's like this guy had a plan. He even thinking on his feet with the whole Bill Clay thing. I thought it was great. He changes his accent, which I love the nod to. You know, they throw that back in Die Hard with a Vengeance, you know, playing up on that whole, like, it's a family thing. You know, we can change it all up. I can think on my feet. He gave me a gun. Then we figure out John just isn't. Honestly, I think even if the guy had really been a hostage, it would have been an unloaded gun. He wouldn't have handed anyone but himself a loaded gun. It was also Django, wasn't he? He was the original Django.
Is the Django. Yeah,
he is the Django. I love it when he's in Django Unchained. He's like, how do you spell it? He is silent. Yes, I know. I like that. But it's Hans, man. He's smooth. He's calculated. He's slimy. And then he's more believable because even at the end, he does have that bit of panic. Just that, fuck it, we got to just grab our shit, get the hell out of here. I've got your wife, you know, I'm going to kill you, all this other stuff, and falls out the window while still trying to take Holly down with him. You know, it worked. Also, for a movie that we really hadn't ever seen a villain like that up until Die Hard came out.
It's a game changer.
It was we hadn't really seen an everyman, you know, as far as, you know, just this normal blue collar guy turns into a hero. We had a villain that we're told that he's a terrorist throughout most of the movie till we figure out he's just a thief. It's calculating, and, you know, and he's smart. He's like, I can't fight. I would not be able to. I'm going to hire someone like Carl or, you know, Al Leong, you know, stuff like that. Which
best henchman of all time. Just saying.
Best. He is our rate. That's how we rate movies on Give Me Back My Action Movies. It is the Al Leong scale. So that is how impactful that man has been in action movies and everything.
Oh, every action movie. I mean, I love how he eats the candy bar in the first one. He's just looking at it and just looks at it. And I just love that moment. And that's what I love, which actually none of the sequels capture that the first movie has, is the little tongue-in-cheek bits of humor, which only John McTiernan added. Like, I love the scene where the SWAT team are coming in, they're all a bunch of badasses, and the guy pricks himself in a rose and was like, ow! Right. That's a silly little moment of humor.
That's that whole thing of how they showed that they're inept. You know, you got you know, the police this police sergeant at the bottom yelling through a bullhorn and everything. He might as well have been the guy from RoboCop where he's like, we'll get you a new car, the 6000 SUX. You know, that's how ridiculous it. You know, Al was the only cop, and he was just a beat cop. But he was the only cop we cared about other than
he ate Twinkies, which means he's smart.
That's right.
I love Twinkies.
So do I.
Twinkies are awesome.
Yeah, the best.
But I mean, you can't. This is that whole thing of there's just a certain thing that you can never undo, and that's Hans Gruber being quite possibly one of the greatest action movie villains to be on screen. I love it. We haven't watched it yet for the year. I literally watched Die Hard. All the other Die Hards, I haven't watched Die Hard 1 till a little bit closer to Christmas because man, it ain't Christmas till Hans Gruber falls from Nakatomi Tower, man. Die Hard is a fucking Christmas movie.
Of course it is.
I don't give a shit.
Oh, it is. Anybody who argues, I'm like, bullshit. Because you could set any Christmas movie at any time of year and the story could still be the same.
Right.
But I was like, okay, does anybody say Merry Christmas in it? Yes. Is there Christmas music in it? Yes. His wife's name is Holly, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
And it's throughout. It's in every little nook and cranny of the movie is Christmas in this thing. The tape he tapes to his fucking neck is Christmas tape. Yeah. You know, it's like, come on, man. It is. But we did it in our group, and I agree with this, is whether you think it's a Christmas movie, whether you don't think it's a Christmas movie, one thing is undeniable. It is a Christmas tradition, and it forever will be. So Charlie's drinking, if I didn't say so. Charlie's really loquacious tonight.
That's far too big a word. That's unacceptable in a show like this.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm out. Okay, I've said
you're done here. All right, before I get to Steve, then we'll get the
Hans Love out of the way.
The Hans Love out of the way. So over to you, Gino.
Okay, so all the reasons Charlie said, but what is a villain? Hans Gruber is after money, and he's willing to kill innocent people to get it. There's no room for any sort of understanding in a villain like that. Whereas the other characters, not the Grubers, both of them, the other characters are villains in the perception of John McClane or us, the viewers. Are they villains to themselves? Are they villains in other nations? Like, for example, Colonel Stewart believes he's doing the right thing for his nation. If this movie was completely inverted and it was, I don't know, the American president or something was being held hostage by some nameless thing, and they're like, well, we'll kill anybody. I know we wouldn't, you wouldn't say, let's just kill innocent people on a plane. That's horrific. But he thinks he's doing some sort of good. Hans Gruber has absolutely no qualms that he's doing anything. He's like, I don't give a shit. This is all for me. It's greed. And that's it. There's no message. Even with Timothy Oliphant, there's some sort of message, or there's none of that. So I get what you're saying. Look, he killed 200 whatever people on that plane. That's outrageous. It doesn't matter what it is. But Heath's like, listen, these people don't mean anything to me. I'm fighting for something bigger. A few people get killed, they get killed. That's how it goes. Hans Gruber is willing to do anything to get some money. It's like, really, that you're that guy? Like, you're such an exceptional thief. How much money do you need? Can you not just go somewhere else and just do like 3 bank jobs or whatever? And is that enough money? Like, he doesn't care. It's almost like he wants to do something a little bit more complicated to get more, to be the exceptional thief. He's not. It's like, I want to. It's also like he wants to prove that he's the best too, right? So he is a bit more evil in that sense. Like Bill Sadler, like Colonel Stewart I don't think he thinks he's evil, right? So that's sort of the thing. Whereas I think Hans is like, yeah, I'm an evil guy. I don't care. Like, I need my money. I don't care. I don't care who dies. So there's that. Plus also he's just a better written character. So I've got movie J-Man coming in now. So critic J-Man, look, he's a well-written character. There's a lot of great dialogue. He walks in, he has his little thing. He's like, ladies and gentlemen, please. That whole thing is so good.
Oh God.
And I love that the smugness starts to go as he's like, oh, this John McClane
gets more desperate and exasperated.
And all that. Okay. Yeah. Which is he is still a human being. So it's at point, and he's not even frustrated about potentially losing the money. It's like, if I lose the money, I'll find it somewhere else. It's more like, I had this fucking plan, and you're
more pissed about that. Yeah,
right, it's like you're a greasy, dirty American, and I'm like this, hoity-toity.
I'm smarter than you.
I'm smarter than you. How dare you come in here with your stupid American bullshit, cowboy shit, and screw with my plan? That's what's pissing me. The detectives coming in. I think that Robert Davi was the other guy. It's like, we've got
Johnson & Johnson.
Johnson & Johnson, which is great. And then you go, flashback to Hans. He's like, these two. Oh, they finally showed up. Oh, geez, finally these guys showed up. Well, here's what they're gonna do. And as an audience member, it's pretty exciting because you haven't seen this before. This is like what Lex Luthor and stuff. This is like the comic book villains that we're used to. The Gruber brothers. Yeah, the Gruber brothers are the mastermind characters. Riddler, Luthor, whatever, pick your guy. Yeah. And it's like, it's so cool because it's like, and John McClane isn't that smart, but he's crafty, right? And he's willing to go the distance, and he won't back off. That's the thing about Die Hard. It's a masterpiece movie. Part 2 was not supposed to be a Die Hard movie. I think they retooled another script.
Yeah, it was based on a book.
It's based on a book. Yeah, this is why it's a little bit weird with the villain, where it's not as interplay cut as it is with Die Hard 1, because the Die Hard formula is not exactly that. It's sort of one location, but like
every movie is another script up until number 5.
Yeah.
5 was actually written to be a Die Hard movie, and they didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Right. So
J-Man brought up one thing about Hans Gruber I wanted to bring up before I forgot. There is a subtlety to him that, even as J-Man was talking, I was thinking about it. There's the pregnant lady that he actually shows concern for. Like,
he let her use the bathroom.
I'll let her use the
bathroom.
Can we bring a couch to you? Would that be acceptable?
Yes.
He was still going to put her on the fucking roof and
he's still going to pull her up. So
that's how much of a piece of shit exactly. He is that much more of a piece of shit that I will act nice to a pregnant woman knowing full well I'm blowing her up.
She's dead,
Period.
Yeah, I mean, he goes, you have to blow it up because they have to believe that it's destroyed, or else they're going to find you.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't care, and he's pretending to care, which is worse. It is actually worse. Like, oh, it's okay. Because, like, look, you guys are going to be fine. Once I get my demands, everything's going to be fine. It's like, no, it's not. There's no point in time where he has any justification for any action.
No.
Look, Bill Sadler kills a plane. Nobody's going to argue that point, but I'm just saying, in his mind, in his world, he's like, I must do this for him,
But he didn't look those people in the face.
Right.
They were faceless.
Yeah.
He didn't know there was two. It was the closest one with the lowest amount of fuel. That was the only reason he crashed it. It was Hans Gruber looked at every one of these people in the face and feigned caring that we'll get all through this. Everyone will go home. You'll have a Merry Christmas. Nope, I'm blowing your asses up as soon as I get my helicopter.
Yeah. There you go.
That's our argument for Hans Gruber.
Plus, Die Hard's a 10 out of 10 movie. It's one of the best action films ever 100%. Made.
Can't argue with that.
Hans Gruber, never saw a villain like that. It's exciting from one. It's 10 out of 10. I have zero complaints about Die Hard Part 1.
They dropped him on the count of 2 instead of 1, which is how they got the great look on Alan Rickman's face.
It was real shit.
Yeah, that was so good. Yeah, it was real. It was good.
It was real.
That's real.
And now that is the most iconic thing.
I've even used it as the background for this.
Yes.
And it's like we got a great building drop, but yet we got that end at RoboCop with the freaking long ass arms.
Yeah. What the hell?
What's going on, man? You could have just put that dude's face over Alan Rickman's, and I would have been.
Instead, they show Elf on a shelf falling off the building. Anyway, so Steve, over to you.
Yeah. Before I begin, I can't believe you missed one of the great assholes of this entire series, which is Paul Gleason as Dwayne T. Robinson.
Oh, of course.
The guy at the start, like
everyone in the first one's an asshole. Basically.
He is the J. Jonah Jameson of the entire thing. Like Al's telling him
bulls by the horn.
Yeah, yeah, man. Like. He's been
one of these new FBI guys, I guess.
But like he's telling Al, like, oh, your buddy's the problem, and he's the recipient of one of the best lines. I still use this to this day in real life. You're either part of the solution or part of the problem. Stop being part of the problem, start being part of the solution. I love that exchange. He basically yells at him because he's that uptight, by the book prick who you know is going to end up with egg on his face, and you're scared that he's going to cost people their lives, right? Which he does.
Which he does. He does. Yeah. He costs the SWAT team mostly their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but no, sir, you couldn't drag me away. So.
But it's Colonel Stewart, and it's because of the vision he has. So. I agree with Owen. I agree with you guys. Like, I agree with.
I know it's hard to argue. I mean, Hans and him are both. They're mostly
but like the thing is that first of all, Colonel Stewart, and you can give this point for Simon too, but Colonel Stewart beats John McClane. He beats him. Like John wins by fluke. He's in the right place at the right time. When he takes that kick, he basically, you can say he sort of positions himself, but he beats him. John McClane bites his finger off, and he's still beating the crap out of him with his finger being bitten off. It's insane.
Fair.
That's the only one he has a fist fight with as well.
Yeah, he's the only one he has a fist fight, and he loses. To me, the reason John McClane doesn't engage him is A, he can't find him, and B, even if he finds him, how do you beat up someone at this level? We're not talking about thieves and criminals. We're talking about highly trained people.
Right. Yeah, which you've shown early on the film.
It's like a 10-second fist fight, though. I mean, it's not like a drawn out one,
But it's still like it shows that McClane, even when in Die Hard 1, even though it's him against them, he's going to win, and you can see Hans getting pushed further and further and further into the corner. He's at the end when he's like, oh, Mrs. McClane,
right.
Like, this is now the act of a desperate man. Like, if you look at all of his actions at the end, it's harried. Everything has gone by the wayside, and he doesn't know. At no point in time do I feel Colonel Stewart's plan has ever gone by the wayside.
Yeah, there's always a step ahead.
He is in control throughout. If he escapes with Esperanza, they're going to do way more. Like, you heard Hans Gruber at the end. He's like, when it's all done, we'll be on the beach earning 20%. He's done after this thing. These guys ain't done. These guys are going to complete mayhem and all this across the world and hurt a lot more people than Hans Gruber or Simon Gruber ever did. To me, that is why I have to give it to Colonel Stewart. For me, as the top Die Hard villain, I've never felt more so in any of the movies that the villain was in complete control beginning that. Now, he did have accomplices, and Grant is one of them. And my favorite line from Grant is, "No, you're right, McClane. I'm an asshole. I'm just your kind of asshole."
Yeah,
I love that.
I mean, it was great lines in that movie.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But I feel like and J-Man's right. Like, Stewart believes in what he's doing, and because he believes in what he's doing, he's going to continue doing it, and he's going to hurt a lot of people because he's got that scope. He's got that vision that neither of the Gruber brothers have. They get their money, you're never going to hear from them again. These guys are never going to stop.
Right. But that makes it a worldwide problem, not a John McClane problem.
Oh, I agree.
That's where I Hans
agree.
Gruber was thrusted upon him because no one knew what to expect. The second one is just kind of like they tried to do the annoying, just happened to be at the right place, right time. He does get on the plane with Esperanza, though, which I think is probably one of my favorite parts. And then they throw 9 fucking grenades into the cockpit while standing really fucking close to the cab of that plane.
Yeah.
And, but he does have this annoyance more for Colonel Stewart. But again, it's just always that Colonel Stewart doesn't give 2 shits about it. There's no dynamic between John McClane and Colonel Stewart, which I think to have a hero and a villain, that's what I crave, especially with a John McClane, like shooting off the one-liners, being a smart ass, showing them up whenever he gets a chance. Colonel Stewart, it never happens with him.
Yeah, but see, I think it works better this time, though, because this is almost more desperation. He's not fucking. There's nothing to laugh about or innocent here because there's hundreds of people's lives that are scared. Like even in the Nakatomi Plaza, it was like 38 people or how many people?
Yeah,
were there?
something like that. It was like 30 something.
Yeah, but in this one, there's hundreds of people in the planes. So
the
stakes are huge.
Yeah, the stakes are larger, and that it's the sequel. What is it? Die Hard, Die Harder. That's exactly what the movie's called. But it's just this thing where I feel like the stakes are maybe larger, but are they larger for John McClane himself? His wife is on a plane that makes the stakes large for there. But he could have read about this in the newspaper the day later. He could have watched it happen on the news. There was nothing that was John McClane centric about Die Hard 2.
Well, if he wasn't there, they would have won.
Right, they would have won, and that would have been it. Like in Die Hard, even Die Hard with a Vengeance, it affected not quite the entire United States, more like the East Coast. That does somewhat affect everyone, and he is charged with this kid's life. Then his daughter gets involved. So now that brings in the John McClanes. The second one or the third one, he was targeted specifically because he killed Hans Gruber. It is
Yeah.
now centric on John McClane. The fifth one, even though it fails, he's going to find his son. He gets embroiled in something because of his son. It's family. I am drawn in. The only thing 2 has going for it is my wife happened to be on a plane that they took control over. Yes, I know it's like 1, but 1 was something we had never experienced before. Now that I know what I want from a John McClane character, 2 doesn't quite do it for me.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, for me, it's a sequel, and it's just, I get the feeling that John McClane is not going to walk into a situation where he sees danger and walk away, regardless of what the personal stake is.
Yeah, he's a cowboy.
Right.
He's got a sense of honor, like you mentioned. Yeah.
He goes into the baggage hold. That's fair. He, and then 2, he sees something that's not right and he follows. I mean, I get it. It's got an instinct.
Yeah, it's definitely not as, I don't want to say personal. Oh yeah, the FLQ Running Man read about
Time magazine.
That is a great thing.
Love that.
That's the thing. I love when he's like Crimson Dawn and Carl's like,
right about the time. Yeah, it's just brilliant. Yeah. But I also love it. That really is a nice suit. Rumor has it Arafat buys his there or whatever.
Yeah.
I just love that because he's got that air of sophistication to him, and he's the most sophisticated of any of the villains. The nice suit and everything else. He's obviously well versed and benefits of a classic education.
That's because they would never be able to copy that again. That's what Alan Rickman lended to the character alone. No one else. I wouldn't believe William Sadler, even if he wasn't playing that character as Hans Gruber or any other one playing that. It just didn't work. I needed that smooth, suave, calm, always in control. I have to believe you're in control. I think it's ultimately where it also comes down to for a good villain is I have to believe there's a chance they could win, that they are smarter than the hero.
Well, I think like for me, I'm thinking like how interesting is the villain character to me?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, whereas like if you're thinking who is a threat? Yeah, Colonel Stewart is a threat, but again, he's a global threat where you would think there'd be anti-terrorist groups or something. Whereas like cops and robbers, it's like this guy's, the Grubers are robbers. He's a cop. Like, I want to say that I believe that John McClane can take out these guys, even though he's not as smart. He's just got his wits and stuff. When you get to the Sadler, I keep saying Sadler, Stewart, that's the other thing. It's like Colonel Stewart. It's like Hans Gruber just sounds like a cooler name, but anyway. But like Colonel Stewart, it's like I feel like John McClane would need help, like a bit. Like this is like really a huge thing. Like there should be more people involved in this, but they're not involved because the movie wants John McClane to do it. I love Die Hard 2. I would say
it's a great movie. Yeah,
I would say it's like 9 out of 10. I think it's like cool.
I gave it an 8 when we rated it. So
I love it.
It's way up there.
Yeah, I love Die Hard 2. Like if someone said Die Hard 2 is better than Die Hard 1, I'd be like, well, Die Hard 1 did it first, but I love Die Hard 2. Right.
People don't like Die Hard 2 because it's a sequel to Die Hard. It's like it's like Predator 2. People hate Predator 2, but because Predator came first.
Yeah. Same with City of Angels with Crow, because I like City of Angels as well. But same thing. Like a lot of these part 2s, it's like after these great epic mega first movies, it's so hard, except for Empire Strikes Back. So it can happen.
But that was that whole trope. Like the sequels had to bring it bigger. They had to go further. They had to do so much, and they don't always do it. But it is hard to have like that big of a blockbuster, then make a sequel. It's like it made money. Let's do it. It's like honestly, Die Hard never needed a sequel. Die Hard is like one of those movies that could have just stayed where
probably
it was.
Would better if it was just on its own.
Yeah. I mean, I would have had zero problem, especially now that we know where we got with a 5. But eventually it runs out of steam. 2 was okay. 3, I like 3 a little bit better than I like 2. I enjoy it a little bit more. I also that was like my Die Hard when I was old enough.
3 is my favorite script. There are so many great one-liners. I love whenever. He's like, a fat guy, red and white hat. Surprised you didn't see him. I just love that scene.
Yeah, not being at Christmas, but they make Christmas references.
To Christmas anyway.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah. See, to me, I would rate it. Die Hard 1 is 10. Die Hard 2, I agree, is 9. Die Hard 3 to me is 8. Live Free and Die Hard is maybe a 7. And then 5 craters to like.
It's a 1. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing good about it.
Garbage.
I think I'm like 10, 9, maybe like 7, and then maybe like 4 for part 4. I don't know. I just like it's like it's a
4
movie.
and 5 don't exist to me really. I just don't watch them.
4 was shocking to me because I saw the Justin Long character in the trailers. I went, oh god.
I know, and I got to be honest, I can't fucking stand him. So his character's annoying.
Value. He had value to. He brought value to the partnership, which I didn't foresee.
Yeah,
and he was more believable. Like, he's awkward. He doesn't. He's like, what the hell's going on around me? I love, he's like, I got this little scratch. John's literally bleeding, and he's like, are you okay? And he's like, well, I got my asthma's kicking up right now. I laugh every time that scene comes on because that's what I believe that character is like. That he's a hacker. He was a nerd.
It's sidekick. I hate sidekick. Like, I don't like. As soon as part 3 came in, like, sidekick. I'm like, now part 4. Is this going to be the sidekick hour? Like,
Samuel L. Jackson is not a sidekick, damn it. Not Samuel L. Jackson is a sidekick. Sorry. He is a co-host actioner. That's what it is.
I like part 3. I think part 3 is a pretty good action movie with a lot of cool stuff in it, but I don't think it's like a super diehard kind of movie where it's he needs to be alone.
I do get that. I agree with that. I hate how every movie you can't have anybody on their own anymore. Like it's like superhero movies, there has to be a fucking team now. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm only interested in Batman on his own punching people in an alley. I don't want to see Justice League or anything. I'm sorry, I just want to see Batman or whatever. So yeah,
I do want to see it all, but I want to see both. I want to see Batman, the normal thing, and I want to see Justice League.
An hour and 30 minutes, we start talking about Batman.
Just to circle back to J-Man's thing about taking on like all those guys, I agree with him. The thing that why it works for me is because we've been saying it through the entire stream. John McClane is not the sharpest knife in the drawer. He doesn't know when to quit. He sees a floor of broken glass and he's wearing bare feet, and he's like, sure. I'll do that.
It's more like, God damn it, I gotta do that.
But he does it. Right?
He'll do it. He does it.
And it's the same thing. He's like, I'm outmatched. You see him like, especially in the first one, and they should have maybe done a bit more in the second one, where he's talking to himself like, John, what the hell?
Hey, what the fuck are you doing? This is a really bad idea.
Yeah. Like he says that constantly.
Have some laughs.
Like that sort of thing where he's having that self-reflection, like, are you really doing this? Like, this is fucked up, right? Mm-hmm. He needed to do that a bit more in 2 for sure. But if he did, I feel like he was doing that. I just didn't see it. But that's why it fit for me, is because the established one, he has those moments where he's like, this is fucked up, man. I'm not what am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I not hiding and doing the smart thing? Oh fuck, it's because it's Holly.
Yeah, he literally has that conversation in the first one. He's like, what are you doing, John?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And he's like, it's just this instinct. That's what it comes down to. He has to do it. He's the only one that can.
Yeah.
And they lose that. You're right. It's the 5th one for sure. But the 4th one, the
5th one isn't a diehard film.
We might as well just quit talking about that one. It's dog shit.
Yeah, it's just sucks. Yeah, it's not even a good movie in any way.
No, it's not. But from the 4th one to I don't want to shit on the 3rd one, but I would have liked a singular John McClane. But then I have to remind myself he would have lost. He was up against someone that was better than him, that didn't even have to touch him to kill him. So you had to have that second one.
But the banter between him and Samuel L. Jackson is great as well, or just the abuse.
That's what saves the movie.
Entertaining about it.
That saves it as a movie that I can watch those two guys interact with each other the entire movie. It doesn't get tiring like sometimes when you have like a co-star in it where you're like, shut the fuck up, I'm tired of you guys talking to each other. I was just like, okay, what are they going to bitch about now? Like down to the point where it's like the gold bar in the back of the car. He's like, man, that guy's going to be pissed that we took his car. He's like, not till he looks at the back seat. Like he had that in his mind going, I'm going to fuck with you. Yeah, your gold bar's in the back seat. And I didn't say shit. Like, God damn it.
Also, which is the movie where he talks about his subscription to Jugs magazine?
What was that one?
Is that the first one? Is that my subscription to Jugs magazine just expired?
Oh yeah.
I think it is the first one.
Or is it The Last Boy Scout? Shit.
Oh, it's The Last Boy Scout.
Oh yeah, it's The Last Boy Scout.
It's The Last Boy Scout.
Yeah, because I need to look and see if I can renew my subscription. Anyway,
you want me to explain the water? Does anyone need it explained? I had to explain it. I still remember it to this day because I've explained it 4,000 times.
Explain it. Go ahead.
There's 3. A jug that holds 3. He needs 4. This one holds 5. This one holds 3. You fill up the 5. You pour in. You you pour in the 3.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's 3 in here and there's 2 in here, right? Because you poured 3 in here.
Right.
So then you dump that out. You pour the 2 into there.
Yeah.
And then you have 1 left because you fill that one back up.
You fill the 5 back up into the 3 that has 2.
Right.
You suck.
Right. And then
you left with 4.
And then you pour what's left, and that fills the third one up, and then you have 4 left in that one.
J-Man and I just described it just like they did in the movie. And we fill it up, and it's 4.
Yeah, I love the hysteria between them both during that scene. It's so real.
Yeah.
Panic.
And it's like I never found out what the other the riddles were like at the ball field. I'm like, come on, man, I need to finish that one out. They never made it over there to get that riddle solved.
Interestingly enough, both Die Hard 2 and Die Hard with a Vengeance were rated 15 in the UK, and it wasn't until I moved here that I got the full uncut versions, where there's more swearing and more violence. Particularly, whenever they steal the guy's car. And he goes, "Go fuck yourself!" Shouting after them.
Yeah.
In the UK version, he goes, "Go take a hike." And I'm like, that doesn't work. Go take a hike.
Yeah, it's not that good. It's not the Big Lebowski. That to me is my all-time favorite TV edit, where he's like, John Goodman is just destroying, a friggin' car with I think it was a baseball bat, right? Like, and he's like, "Do you see, Larry? Do you see what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass?"
Oh, yeah.
And on TV, it's, "Do you see, Larry? Do you see what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps?"
Yeah,
it says
what?
I
have a T-shirt somewhere. My T-shirt that says "Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon" on it. I couldn't find it. So
the first time I watched Die Hard was the television cut, and it is "Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon." Like he says, "Fudge, freak." Like they could, if you had just cut out every word he said, he'd look like he's lagging out the entire movie. So they dubbed it with someone that didn't sound anything like Bruce Willis at all. Yeah. But that was the first time I ever watched Die Hard. It was the ABC Saturday night movie. Dad let me stay up and watch it. And, it's an excellent action movie without all the cussing. And then you watch it uncut. You're like, wow, they said fuck a ton in this movie.
Particularly the third one, they say fuck all the time. And there's a lot more swearing in it compared to the UK version where they really trimmed it down.
Samuel L. Jackson's in it.
Yeah.
You literally had the movie known for fuck, and you added the man who invented fuck.
Right.
That's what happened.
No. Jennifer Lawrence did.
Jennifer Lawrence invented fuck. I believe that.
And I know J-Man's got to go, but just before we go, just wanted to give a shout out to Clarence Gilliard Jr., who played Theo in the first movie. He passed away a couple of weeks ago, so rest in peace, Clarence. Thank you for that, because Theo was such a great character in the first one. He was so hateful.
Yeah, awesome.
The smug nerd character. He was just a great character.
And got punched out by Argyle. So
and then of course Argyle. Walker Texas Ranger as well. So
yes.
So rest in peace, Clarence.
He got to be in the Die Hard battery
commercial. Yes,
I was glad they brought him back.
I know. Right, Jay, are you wanting to head off now?
Yeah, I'll just say one. I was introduced to Die Hard through my mom. My mom saw them all in the theater. She's a massive Bruce Willis fan for Moonlighting, so I used to watch Moonlighting with her.
Yeah, same.
So she saw Die Hard 1. She's like, "It's so awesome," and she's like, "I can't take you to see it because I wasn't allowed to go." So we just got it when it came out. And then she saw Die Hard 2. She's like, "Oh my God, it's so crazy." I was like, "You got to tell me." She's like, "No, I won't tell you anything. I'll get it for you." So it's like, she would get me the movies. So that's how I saw. And then I saw 3
awesome.
Die Hard 2 was the first one I saw in the theater. And they did a special Christmas screening of Die Hard here a couple of years ago. And it was actually the first time I saw it on the big screen, which was awesome. And it was the week before Christmas. That's how you do it. So
hell yeah,
that was awesome.
My mom also saw Mad Max. She liked Mel Gibson, so I was the first.
Yeah,
I got introduced through that. Road Warrior came out here, so she saw that in the theater. She saw every Mel Gibson movie in the theater, like What a Woman Want or What Does Women Want or something.
Yeah, Women Want.
Yeah. She saw every one of them, though, even that stupid puppet one. Like, she went to go see any Mel Gibson movie.
Or The Beaver.
Like, okay. The Beaver, yeah. I'm like, really? So, she's like, "Oh, it's still going. Why not? All right, you gotta see it." But anyways,
there was a script I read. I don't. You probably want to hear this, Jay, because it's kind of a cool idea. But which I was sent, and it was for Old Habits Die Hard. Which is going to be the new one, which I was always surprised why wasn't a sequel called that. That would have been a great title. But it was going to be Hans Gruber's son coming back. and his father, but the father was going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the son was going to be Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh,
and
that's crazy.
And it was going to be in Japan at Nakatomi Plaza, where it was like a 30th anniversary, and it was like thanking him for what he did for Nakatomi 30 years ago. And then they're out for revenge after him all these years later, or whatever. And there's some cool stuff in it. And I've read a couple of different scripts for potential Die Hard sequels, but none of them happened. And well, obviously because of Bruce Willis's awful illness, the asphasia, then Die Hard is done. So it's a shame. It's a shame it finished on the awful fifth movie, though. I wish it had been
the non-existent fifth movie.
Yeah, I know. Too bad. So, is there anything else?
I would have done a whole different. Like, I actually like that script sounds interesting, but I don't know, too many callbacks. I don't like a million callbacks.
That was what I said.
It's like, well, we already did part one. We don't need to redo part one. Like, I like part two. It's a whole different thing. Even if Holly wasn't on there, they could like, even that would have been okay, and they would have come up with some other reason for him to stay. I don't know, or whatever. Maybe like I don't know, something else. Like maybe Holly's mom is on there. It's like, well, my mother's on there. He's like, oh, I never liked her. It's like John, or whatever.
He would have let it crash. That wasn't going to fly.
Or someone took his kids or something.
Or someone took the kids or something, right? It's like it gets to the point where it's like, how many times are you going to leave this,
But that's what happened later, and they failed at it. We got the best callback with 3. That was the best way to call back to 1. Even throwing his kids in the mix didn't work in the next 2.
Right, that's true. So there you go.
What's it called? Where's the fucking book? I have a graphic novel somewhere of Die Hard, and it was like
I got the Christmas book, the like animated Christmas Die Hard book. I got it in my room last year.
What the hell is it? I can't remember, but there was like a Die Hard graphic novel I had.
Hey, we got the same chair, except I've got the green version.
All right, yeah. Well, mine's kind of falling apart now. What the fuck is it? Well, anyway, there's a Die Hard book I had anyway, and it was like a graphic novel, and he was like, it was like old John McClane, but he was fighting like a serial killer.
Oh, interesting.
What the fuck's about? Right?
Yeah, there's no ones where he's just being a cop doing his cop job.
And that's what that's kind of is. Die Hard.
See, that would have worked because in 3 they allude to like you arrested a lot of scumbags. They go through like all the jackets, like this guy, and he was like, nah, not that guy. He was a piece of shit. He just like laundered some money or something.
Right.
Like, they could have really dug into like his record and found someone that he really pissed off.
Sorry, this is really annoying me. Oh, yeah, A Million Ways to Die Hard. Is that it? Yeah. Is that it? Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Movie Phone is the main antagonist in the 2018 graphic novel, A Million Ways to Die Hard. He is a serial killer from John McClane's past who resurfaces 30 years the events of Nakatomi Plaza and wants to end his old foe once and for all.
Huh.
Interesting.
So, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. It's actually not that great because I remember reading it and looking at it and I was like, that doesn't look like John McClane, doesn't look like Bruce Willis. So it just took me straight out of it and I was just like, that doesn't look like Bruce Willis. Is that what it's called? A Million Ways to... Anyway, I don't know where it is. It's around somewhere. I probably gave it away, knowing me, dumping it. It's just giving away all my stuff. Here, take all my stuff. I don't care. So anyway, I know J-Man's got to go, so we'll just wrap it up there. I've rabbited on all I want to say. So, so next week will be probably the last show of the year because I go on Christmas vacation until January. But next week we're going to do 2022, the year in action. So we'll talk about the various highs and lows of the year. There's not too many highs now that I think about it. And if anybody's waiting for my review for Avatar, it'll be next week. I'm seeing it next Tuesday, so I'll see that. I don't care about it, but I'll see it because I feel I should. 3 fucking hours though.
It's 3 hours and like 15 minutes. That
3 hours and 10 minutes. Yeah,
so it's gonna be 20 minutes of credits. So there is that.
Yeah,
because like 4 million people worked on it.
Yeah. I'll have to make sure to get rid of our testosterone before seeing it to not upset James Cameron. Jeez.
Oh, I fucked them. Oh. Andrew Dice Clay, man. Fort Fairlane. Come on.
Yeah, Fort Fairlane, man.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up there. So, guys, we'll be back next week for the last one of the year. I may do one with Yuvin. We'll see how it goes. And we'll see how next week goes anyway. But if not, if you're not able to watch it, then we will see you in the new year. So if anybody is watching, you are the action lead.
Come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs.